Well, good afternoon or good evening if you're in the beautiful USA. And if you are overseas, it's already Saturday morning. And I am Bruce, aka the guy in the blue shirt, as I've become known here. And my core method is simpler, faster, better. And as a good friend of mine recently told me, "Oh, Bruce, you're a process fixer." So, yes, I'm a process fixer. I'm also a process cleanup guy, which is why my company based here in Tempe, Arizona is called processcleanup.com. So, Gilles, welcome, my friend, and all the way from beautiful Dallas, right?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, if you do happen to be live and you are in the comments, please know that Jules and I cannot see you unless you say hi. And if you're shy, all you got to do is say where you're tuning in from, and then we know we've got somebody there to be chatting with. So, yeah, little context. Jules is a relatively new in person connection, but he hails back to a very, very old community that we both have been part of, and that was the Culture Cup. So, and I like to give context. Mr. Kenny Dunner's in the comments already. Hey, Kenny. Ken's from Sugar Land, Texas. So if you ever get down that way, Gilles, Ken is an awesome connection, and he works at the MD Anderson Center, and he likes to go out for happy hour. So if you're ever that way, Ken would be a great buddy to go happy hour with.
That's great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just down there in April.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, if you're going back, make sure you connect with Ken. And, that's what I love about live streams. And also, we have a community in common, which is the tea tasting at the Culture Cup. So,
Sure.
so a little context how we met. You and I were there for the April tea tasting because I was also in Dallas for my other passion, which is IndyCar racing. I was going to the Texas Motor Speedway. And we were chatting with Stephanie and David, who were the baristas there. And we were talking about history of the Culture Cup. So perhaps take that over a little bit because it's a great example of how our casual conversation led to a little connection. And then from the connection, we realized we were in this bigger community that the Culture Cup had built. And here we are doing our first step in our collaboration. So that's what I call the 4 C's:
Yeah,
conversation,
absolutely.
yeah, conversation, connection, community, and collaborate. It's pretty simple, but not easy to do.
No, absolutely. And so we've known more. My wife has known have known Phil and Kyle, who
Right.
own the Cultured Cup, and we've followed them across. This is now their third location in town that we've followed them to. But to give you kind of how Phil and Kyle have built and maintained that community, Loretta, my wife,
Right.
has is has taken there's basically a T certification, an
Yep.
international T certification. So I tease her that she's not only a T snob, she's a certified level 2 T snob. um, and loves that. And Phil and Kyle have kind of nurtured that community and encouraged that education process
Right.
that comes with their passion for tea, and they've shared that with others. And my wife is definitely part of that community. So
Right.
we got a chance to visit.
Yeah.
I am less of a tea drinker, but they have great selection of coffees as well. So I'll go there once in a while and get
Right.
my coffees my from my coffee bar at the house.
Right. Yeah, it's funny when people ask me, tell me about the Culture Cup, and I say it's simple. It's tea, chocolate, coffee, and all the great stuff to make it, and a great place to go visit if you want some community around learning about tea. And yeah,
And
I call people like your wife teologists. I know that's not the correct term, but I can never remember the proper certifications. I know Kyle and Phil are both fully certified all the way back to the tea plantations. Their knowledge is unbelievable, and that's kind of how you and I started talking. We started talking about the importance of education, and then as you as we were talking kind of through Stephanie, we weren't actually talking with each other.
Yeah.
Several weeks ago, Stephanie joined me from, being the barista, and she said, "Oh, I'm just the barista." But when that couldn't have been further than the truth. When we started talking live, she was amazingly educational, and that's kind of our common theme. So you're an educator in your realm, I'm an educator in my realm, and Stephanie and all the people at the Culture Cup are educators. So that common bond of wanting to be educators, or in what I call, some people, edutainers. You do
Yeah.
education but with a little bit of entertainment. What a great way to learn, right? And
Yep. Absolutely. And I mean, part of my journey towards coming over to the financial wellness, financial side was I spent about 20 years as a kind of a retirement plan consultant and expert in financial services, but a lot of the frustration was that we were, if you've got money, you can get people to help teach you and coach you. But if you don't, then you're at the mercy a lot of times of either bad information or people who want to make a commission off of you. And I'm at my core, I'm a teacher. All four of my grandparents, 3/4 of my aunts and uncles are all teachers. So it's in my DNA. And so being able to combine that experience of understanding retirement and financial industry, along with my need to educate people, is what led me to here.
Right. Yeah, and what a great way to, and it's funny because our pathways always go in a convoluted nature, and it takes time, right?
No, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's interesting because we sort of kind of have that in common, but my history is not the important thing. Talking about education, and Ken just said, yeah, we met at the Yard House. So if you know where that is, that was in one of the districts in Houston. He came down to Houston, and Denise took me there. Another great connection. So if you are there, try and reach out to Ken, and
Sure.
I think you guys would hit it off. You're kind of, into education, and he's super knowledgeable. So yeah, so let's chat a little bit about what are some of the, I guess, the greatest misnomers about, where not only where to find education, but making sure the education is accurate without, kind of, to be rude, either get ripped off or having to pay for basically the wrong education, right? So
Yeah.
so what would be some pointers?
Yeah. So I think a lot of the pointers would be around it. While yes, it is complicated, and there's certainly some things that are very complicated about finances and some of the legal aspect. And at its core, I mean, it's not rocket science, right? And what makes financial matters complicated is the emotions that come around it, right? We are emotional beings, and whether it's the imprint that our parents and our backgrounds gave us on how to handle financial situations, or our anxiety or our shame of bad decisions, or a fear of making the wrong decisions. The emotions get really in the way. So I think one of the things when we're talking to folks is to try to, first of all, break down the concept, to try not to handle everything all at once, because it's overwhelming, right? So break down the components, and then figure out what will impact you the most, right? I'd like to talk about people of kind of what's your next best dollar, or next best use for your dollar, right? Does it have to be? Is it about spending and budgeting? Because if your budget's underwater, it's hard to get any headway. Is it building up savings? Is it getting out of debt? Is it longer term investments like retirement? Is it protection like insurance? those are all, important ways to think about it. But if you can break it down into smaller steps that are easier to digest and try to keep the emotions in check, then you're farther along than most people.
All right. Well, Lydia just joined us from overseas. So thank you, Lydia. She's been a recent new fan, and it's early Saturday morning for her. So thanks, Lydia.
Welcome.
And yeah, it's funny because my visual, I often deal with complicated processes that have been built over a long period of time, but also around a lot of emotion as well. So I kind of liken it to, when I first start to look at a process assessment or process analysis, I'm looking at this giant bowl of spaghetti, right? You look at it top down and, and I'm picking away at the spaghetti strands saying, oh, I wonder how long that one is, or I wonder how many other pieces of spaghetti that one's tied up with. Because, at the end of the day, if you can take that complicated bowl of spaghetti and chop it up into nice little linear straight line pieces of understanding, it's way easier to then realign the process to get it to do what you want it to do, because you can see what you want it to do.
Absolutely. And it's similar to the process that we try to follow when we're trying to build the education, right? So I break it down into 7 steps. So it's budgeting or spending is 1. Then it's savings, debt, retirement investing, savings, insurance, estate planning, and building wealth. But I call them steps, but they're not really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because they're all interrelated, right? Like with your spaghetti analogy, your debts affect your budgeting, and your budgeting affects your ability to save, and that affects your ability to set yourself up for a successful retirement, and so on. So trying to go, okay, I'm only going to focus on this one thing for now, is the important thing to start with. That your people feel like they're not smart because they can't figure it out, and again, you're not alone. There are a lot of people who make the same types of decisions or have the same types of questions. So break it down into smaller bites and it will be easier for you.
Yeah, and I just want to welcome Ken. Thanks for the comments. He's amazing. Sandra Payton. Oh, she made a commitment to join us. She said she wanted to learn. So definitely would recommend you connecting with Sandra as well after the live stream, Gilles. Yeah, and so the other fascinating piece with that is, even though the scenarios or the questions might be more alike, individually our bowls of spaghetti are all a little uniquely different, right? So and it's funny because when I'm looking at process analysis, like you might be looking at financial analysis, with my experience, I can usually go to where the pain points or the root causes of things are. And people will say to me, Bruce, how do you do that? It's like, and I actually tell people, I don't know how I do it. And they say, no. And I don't know. It's that experience. It's almost like I feel my way there. It's almost like a combination of intuition, because what I found, and I'm sure your financial analysis is similar, the process almost has a beat and a sound to it, even though you can't really hear it, but you know what it's doing. And so I'm able to recognize when it's not doing what it should do. And I'm sure your factors allow you to do the same. So you need both spaghetti, right? But
and it's the you hear the same story again.
The stories,
unless you're the very wealthy or you're in a lot of trouble because you're in a lot of debt, right? Most people's, situations are similar, right? We all have similar financial journeys. So once you start a conversation with somebody, it's pretty, you find out pretty fast where they are and what they need to discuss. And if not, if they don't tell you, then a few questions will kind of help you discover where the pain points are.
Right. Yeah. So the spaghetti, like the sauce is kind of similar, but you can tweak it up, right? You can make it slightly different color, different flavor, and that's kind of, I guess, what each individual's financial analysis comes out looking to be. A lot of core things similar, or the story around how they've ended up where they are is similar. And then, so what are the so what I love to talk about success stories, and maybe not such a good success story, because that's where the learning occurs. So
Sure.
why don't you? I mean, I know you can't talk names because of confidentiality, but maybe highlight either a not so successful or a successful, or one of each. It's up to you. Give us a framework of some of the things that you've been able to do through your educational process inside of the company. So
Yeah. So we approach people to do two different ways. We can do a subscription service, and we're going to be relaunching our subscription service in July with some updates. But a lot of what we do is we offer our services as an employee benefit through companies. And a success story would have been, one of our clients is a school district down in Georgia, and the HR manager was always a great advocate for what we were doing and would forward people on to us to have conversations. I was talking to a lady. She had been a stay-at-home mom for most of her life. Unfortunately, got divorced after taking care of her kids, and went back to the workforce in her late 50s. And the way that their pension and Social Security was going to work is that she wasn't going to be able to get enough to be able to have retirement benefits. And she thought, based on her lack of knowledge of the systems, that that she was going to have to work into her 70s or until she just dropped.
Wow.
And in talking with her, I was able to point out, hey, that the Social Security system actually allows her to touch, even though she's gotten divorced, allowed her to touch the Social Security benefits from her spouse or her divorced spouse, which just in that conversation allowed her to go, okay, in a few years, I can retire with twice as much as I would have thought I had. And that was a significant change in her life, right? That is that is where having a little bit of education and knowledge can be hugely impactful for her. And so, I mean, she was crying, I was crying, we were ugly crying, because she got a chance to relieve a lot of stress that was holding her down.
Yeah.
And so that was, probably one of the more impactful success stories. The parts where sometimes we aren't successful, and because some of it is simply on the kind of the compliance and legal side. We are an education service. We're not a financial advice service. And so there's a line at which I can't cross to give investment advice. And some people go into the conversations going, well, I want you to tell me what to do. And I can't tell you, right? If you're nervous that Russia invaded Ukraine and should I get out of the market, I can't tell you that, because that's a financial advice piece that I do. But beyond that, most of the things that people have questions on are, how do things work? And that's the part where education can help.
Yeah, and it's funny because there is actually some common ground between, even though, I often work in highly compliant or highly regulated parts of all sorts of different businesses and nonprofits. I am able, fortunately, to tell people what to do. However, what I found, the downside of that is, yes, it's a quick fix, but the issue is the problem doesn't really go away, because what happens is, unless you empower somebody to understand what they're doing and how to fix it themselves, they often just mess it up, and then you have to come back and tell them what to do again. Well, that's short lived. Those, I always tell people that I'm an implementer, and your job or my job is to get out of your face as soon as I can, because when I've done that, I've empowered you to take care of doing your own cleaning up your own processes and sustaining your own processes at the new standards that you want them to operate at. So yeah, I don't want to be there all the time, and I'm sure that's similar to your role as well, right? You want to empower people to take control of what they're doing and not have to be told what to do, right?
Yeah, and so getting to the nuts and bolts of what we do, there's three parts to what Mentoro does. One is group education, so webinars, seminars, content, putting educational content out there. Some of it is being able to schedule one-on-ones with me or other mentors. But the final component is technology.
Right.
So we provide people with tools that they can then go back to and plug in data and come up with a game plan for getting out of debt, or come up with am I on track for retirement? But if you don't actually go through and implement it, I can't make you do it, right? I can only lead you to the solutions and the technology. So
yeah, you can take that donkey to the watering trough, but you can't make him drink, right?
yeah, exactly.
So is there, I'm intrigued that, some people see or take the vision of using this as an employee benefit. So is there a particular size, or it doesn't really matter, Gilles, that, how could a potential employer use your services as an employee benefit?
Yeah. So as an employee benefit, the way we approach employers is if an employee is stressed out about their finances, they're not going to be focused on work. They're not going to be focused on customers. There's studies that show, higher propensity for absenteeism, for health issues. And so the way we look at it is as you can either hire us as an employee benefit. So you basically offer it to everybody, and we charge you based on the people that attend. Or you can offer it as an elective benefit. So similar to AFLAC, where you're not paying for it, but you're making it available to your employees, and you're helping us promote. We generally focus on larger companies just because for our sales staff, but because it's a subscription model, we right now, I think last month we signed up a 35-person company. And then we also have a 2,000 employee school district over in your part of the country that's signed up where we started a couple of months ago. So it can vary a lot, and it's very scalable.
Good. So it could be small, medium, or large, and I guess it doesn't matter what type of entity it is. It can be a for-profit, non-profit, doesn't really matter.
Correct. Exactly. We are still limited to the United States. So Lydia, sorry, can't help you. But the rules on while financial budgeting and those types of things are universal concepts, there are some specific rules around especially retirement savings and estate planning that are country specific, and we haven't gotten to that point where we can do it in Canada or some of the other countries.
Right. Yeah, Lydia's in the Philippines. It's funny, I was on as a guest, I was watching in a live stream earlier, Tisha Marie Pelletier, who lives here and we've worked with. She was also interviewing a lady that's based in Australia, but was on vacation in just north of Manila. So a lot of Philippine concentration today. So thanks, Lydia, for And again, Sandra. So, Sandra, if you have any questions, or Ken or Lydia, you can drop them in here. We're more than happy. Well, I know Gilles will answer any questions after it goes out on replay, because we can't answer in written form live stream. That is a downside to this. But well, you could, but you have to have a second device. So I keep it simple. I don't, I don't try and mess around with multiple devices. I can never get them to sync up properly. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, for sure. So what have you got coming up? And I know just before we went live, you were going to make a nice offer. So tell us a little bit about what's coming up and what that offer looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one of the things we've been doing is with our technology team and our education team, we've been working on revamping and simplifying our site, our portal. Unfortunately, we're still using, in the dark ages, still using a website and not an app. That'll come in the next year or two. But we're revamping our portal. And one of the things we're going to be adding is the ability to have self-paced courses. So in addition to the articles and the webinars, one of the things you'll see is the ability in probably mid-July when we relaunch to kind of a Duolingo type of, LinkedIn Learning type of setup where you tell us what you're interested in, what course you want to take, and then you kind of follow along at your own pace. And whether you do it, you can start it one day and then wait 2 weeks and go back to it as you have time. And what we're hoping to do is impart those bits of knowledge that are relevant, and then we're going to steadily add more courses as time goes on. So that'll be occurring in mid-July. The offer is, so our subscription service, if you don't do it through an employee benefit, is generally $9.99 a month. But what we'll do is we'll set up a discount code to give you 30% off if you want to participate. And so if you put in, when you do the sign up, if you put into the organization code simpler, faster, better, it'll sign you up for the 30% discount. And all you have to do is go to the mymentoro.com and click on the button that says get started. You'll have 3 screens where it'll just ask you a few basic questions about, where you are in life, what do you want to learn about, what do you, what's your relationship to money? And then the 4th screen is your setup screen. And so you put in the discount, the simpler, faster, better discount code. And it'll go from $10 to $7.
Okay, so yeah, I know you'll add that, and actually Sandra just asked right at the same time you were describing the subscription, is it available for self-employed people? I'm assuming yes, right?
Yes, because it's available to the general public, and then it's just a matter of if you're an employer, you can offer it as an employee benefit, just to differentiate yourself. It's a nice little add-on. If you're a larger company, usually, the 500 or 1,000 or more, what we'll do is our sales and service team will coordinate with the HR benefits department so that we have a better understanding of what your other benefits are and try to communicate that. But the other services are available to everybody.
Okay. So the answer is yes to solopreneurs, self-employed?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good. Yeah, and as Gilles kindly offered, you'll get a 30% discount if, and the website is after your name. That's the correct website, right?
Yeah, the mymentoro.com is the correct website.
Okay, but yeah, if you could add that information again with the confirmation of the simpler, faster, better discount code, that would be great. Thank you. That's so kind of you.
The discount code will be up on Monday because I didn't get a chance to get it set up before we started, but either way, let me know.
No good company, just me. That's right, Sandra. You are a big visionary. No problem. I've seen some of your work, not in person, but I've seen some of her posts. She's very forward thinking, as I would say, a no box thinker. No boxes to hold you back, Sandra. So yes, you can enjoy the benefit, and as Gilles said, if you want to take the advantage of the discount, then wait until after Monday and go to the website and sign yourself up as an individual. And you can go self-pay. I assume that's also for the self-paced learning through
Yeah,
that option.
exactly. The self-paced learning is going to be, we're going to kick that off in mid-July, but
Okay.
but everything else is already, the website still is already working. And really the subscription is the education. We believe in education. So the education part is already included in the price.
Okay.
The subscription really gives you access to some of the tools, some more of the financial tools, like our budgeting tools and our debt management tool.
Okay, cool. So those are templates that people can use for themselves, for their own individual circumstances.
Well, what it is we connect. What it is you go in, you connect your financial accounts to our system. It draws in that data into a central location, and so then you can use that to create budgeting or spending tracking, or to come up with your debt reduction sales goal, for example. And so then you can personalize it to you on the system. So it's a dynamic system that updates on a daily basis.
Oh, awesome. All right. So that's cool. Hopefully that will be of interest to not only people in the live stream here, but those tools are valuable, and that's a great value for relatively low subscription each month. And if you're watching this as a replay, then that offer is still good for people, even if they watch it as a replay, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. So thank you, Sandra, Ken, Lydia. And if you are watching silently, then don't be shy. You can still say hi.
And then feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I know you're pretty good at networking as well. So Gilles, I will leave that to you. Okay, well, hang there. I'm actually going to I do a little brand story outtake because I'm not really good at trying to do two things at once. In fact, I'm a terrible multitasker. So I always usually forget to say what I'm supposed to say. So I have a little brand story that Devin James made for me. So Devin's an amazing young man in Portland. And here we go. Don't go away.
You're frustrated that you have no time and you just hate it. You lost your mind. You're running around the kids and the spouse, and the business that was once your passion has got you burnt out. So, consult with Bruce, the guy in the blue shirt. He'll help you find the truth so that you can do you first. See, it's all about simpler, faster, better, so you can save massive amounts of time and money instead of longing for the day where you can finally kick your feet up. Do yourself a favor. Call up Bruce. He'll tell you about process cleanup.
There we go.
That is great.
Yeah, you see my organized bowl of spaghetti at the end. The circle is somewhat linear, not just a bowl of spaghetti. But yeah, Devin's really good at brand story telling. So with the limited amount of resources, I basically sent him really what I wanted the message to say and all of my existing materials that I had, and he chopped it up, carved it up, and came back with a couple of versions of that, and we were done. So it was pretty cool.
love the background piano.
Yes. Oh yeah, he's very, very talented at not only assimilating a lot of information down to simple messages, but just his musicality is. I call him the brand story maestro because he conducts like an orchestra does. So
absolutely.
All right, man. Well, thank you for your time. Don't go away. We'll just say bye. Thanks, everyone, for being in the comments, and have a beautiful and safe weekend. And I'll be back on next Friday with a totally different lady, but more good stuff to come. Always educational. Thanks, Gilles.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Hang there for a minute.